With the 2025 academic year for higher education institutions in South Africa set to begin next month, student accommodation remains a major challenge. The Private Student Housing Association is calling on the National Student Financial Aid Scheme to settle outstanding rental payments owed to accommodation providers to prevent disruptions. Private student housing currently accommodates more than 80,000 students annually, highlighting the scale of the issue. But just how serious is the student accommodation crisis in the country? To discuss this further, we are joined by Kagisho Mamabolo, who is the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. And we also have the NSFAS Administrator Freeman Nomvala, who's joining us virtually. I'm going to start off with you, Kagisho. In that statement that you had released, you indicate that around 44 million rand is owed to your members. Tell us more about these concerns and other issues that have been highlighted as well, including, for instance, the allowance for students for this year.
Okay. Thank you very much, Aldrin, for inviting us. We don't know how we ended up here at the beginning of the year, because you would recall that last year when the administrator came into office, we were the first accommodation providers that reached out to him with a list of problems that we had. And amongst those issues were 20,000 students in 2024 who were facing eviction from our properties. And we reached an agreement that we're not going to evict the students on the condition that by the time that the year ends, then NSFAS would have settled that bill. Even to date, that bill has not been settled in full. That's why we are owed 44,000. And therefore,
44 million.
I mean, 44 million. So, and as a result of that, our members have to now make ends meet. Otherwise, if we don't inform the students now that they won't be admitted back into the residences for the 2025 when they return, we will have to write that as a bad debt, because then NSFAS is not going to pay. We don't know when they are going to pay. We've reached out to NSFAS many times, and we have been promised that that money is going to be settled, but it has not been settled. And what becomes even more difficult and more frustrating is that this is the process that NSFAS introduced recently. And when they introduced this process, we were promised that there will be a smooth payment of accommodation from NSFAS directly to the landlords. And we want that. We want to be paid directly. We want to be paid on time so that we can accommodate students and they can focus on their studies. If we are not paid on time, Aldrin, the challenge here is that we won't be able to offer unlimited services to these students. We offer transport from the very same rate that NSFAS is giving us. We offer electricity that is unlimited. We offer security that is unlimited. We even offer extramural facilities that allow students to be comfortable in our facilities. And on top of this, we still do not know how much NSFAS is going to pay for 2025. We don't know the rate, and we are even expected by NSFAS to accommodate this student for January for free, which is the month that NSFAS does not pay January and December.
Okay, so Freeman Nomvala is NSFAS's administrator, and he's also joining us virtually. What's your response to these concerns that are being raised by the Private Student Housing Association?
Aldrin, first, Kagisho is correct that they reached out to us, and is correct also that there may be some monies outstanding. But what is disappointing for me in particular is that the Private Student Housing Association is among the first stakeholders I met with. And we created a mechanism to deal with these issues. In the input that Kagisho is making, the issue of paying accommodation providers directly is what we seek to do. The disbursement of student accommodation as it is currently being done, and this is part of the reason why there's administration, by the way, is done through what we call solution providers, and it's also done through universities. Now, that has proven to create problems, because you will find that on NSFAS books, every student is paid for, as an example. But either the university or the solution partner has not paid in full. And you will only know about that when the landlord complains. Now, this is not to say that this is no fault of NSFAS, because that's a process that NSFAS put in place. But it is to illustrate the challenges that we are dealing with. We set up a task team in which various stakeholders participate in that forum, and all of these issues are deliberated on there. Now, let me then come back to what is more critical, rather than saying that point is correct and that point is wrong, is that throughout my interaction with stakeholders, this includes accommodation providers, we have said it is unacceptable that any accommodation provider would not be paid for providing a service. But at the same time, you do need to make sure that when you then ultimately make that payment, it is legitimate and it relates to a claim that has not been fulfilled, either through the institution that is attached to that landlord or the solution provider that would have been doing that. In these discussions, we then said, it is becoming clear to us that we must pay the landlord directly. That process is the process that we are working on implementing at the moment. It's not a process that has been initiated.
So as it stands currently, is it fair to say that for the 2025 academic year, they haven't been paid as yet?
Now,
there's no payments that have gone to them?
For 2025, what we have done is, to the extent that we transfer monies to the universities, there's monies already that we've transferred so that it can meet all number of expenses for the first month of the year. When we receive claims at the end of the month, because we do receive claims, when we receive claims, we're going to deal with those things. As I'm talking now, because of some of the outstanding issues that are coming from last year, there's a team here in Gauteng that is going to the various accommodation providers to make sure that there is nothing that is legitimately outstanding that is not being paid.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why I'm asking that question, because the point that Kagisho is raising is that even when it comes to the allowance per student per year, that issue hasn't been finalized. So how is it that NSFAS is saying that the first month has already been accounted for?
No. So the point I'm saying is, what you find when you go into the specific issues, if we take, I don't know the number of accommodation providers that Kagisho is making reference to, when you then go case by case, you find that this particular landlord has been paid. So first, let me make this point that where there's no dispute on the payment, we will make those payment, and we're making them even now, end of January, as well as throughout February when we get to that. But what you find when you get into a claim by claim issue, then you pick up anomalies. You pick up that this particular claim, in fact, has been satisfied, but either the university or the solution provider has not transferred the money to the landlord. And then it requires a different approach to deal with that issue. And again, I'm not using that as an excuse, because that's a process that we set up as NSFAS, and that's our process that's not working. But
the allowance for student per year, that hasn't been finalized. Is that correct? For the 2025 academic year?
Now, that issue that he's referring to is the issue of what the rate will be for this year.
Yes, that's what I'm asking, because you're speaking about paying in January and then you'll be paying in February. How do you do that when that rate hasn't been confirmed this yet or finalized?
Yeah, but that rate isn't an issue that is dealt with NSFAS. We are trying to get to that, and the department is finalizing that issue for us, and we will be announcing as soon as possible.
Okay. What's your response to that then, Kagisho?
Look, we want a functioning NSFAS, a well-functioning NSFAS, a more sympathetic NSFAS to the issues of the students benefits all of us. And if it's South Africa, parents can relax and be happy that NSFAS is able to do its main function. We are not happy that we don't know the rate. We are calling on whoever is responsible for the rate. If it's not NSFAS, it's the department. The department must announce by the end of this week the rate. We are asking to be paid what we are owed within the next 14 days before the students come in, because we want to welcome back into our residences. What is painful, Adrian, and that NSFAS does not say publicly, is that when they introduce this accommodation payment system, they are charging us 5% on every invoice that we pay. And previously, before this system, we were not charged that amount of money. Universities were managing the accommodation space. We are not saying universities are saints, but we are saying if NSFAS processes do not work, take us back to the process that worked better, and at least we were guaranteed to be paid for the service that we offer.
So if the 14 days come, the money is not paid, and we'll hear now from the administrator if that is possible at all, what then happens to the new incoming students?
We regret that our members will have to, by no means, have to prevent those students from coming into their residences. Already, we have a request from NSFAS to accommodate them for free for January. Municipal rates are not free. You know, we still have to pay for those when the students are lodging at our residences. If we allow them back into our residences with debt of 2024, how guaranteed are we that NSFAS will pay for 2025? And that's the most difficult situation we're faced with.
Mr. Nomvala, 14 days, that's the deadline that they're giving you. I don't know, would you be able to pay that 44 million rand within 14 days? And you hear the threat as well that the students will be evicted.
I think I need to make a broader point here first. I've already said that legitimate claims will be paid, and throughout last year, from around about mid-May last year, I made that claim, and we sat down, we paid in all of the meetings that we have with various stakeholders. That has been pushed through. So I don't understand a point that says it will not be done, because in all of the meetings that we have...
Will it be done within 14 days? Because they are saying 14 days. They're giving you 14 days.
Wait. Now they are putting an ultimatum on an issue that I'm saying. And I spoke to Kagisho about this. Bring the list. Let's look on those lists and see if there's legitimate claims. And here's a case in point that I want to make. Last year, we had on one occasion an institution which could have been sharp for all I care, claiming that NSFAS owes rental for 1,055 students. Only to find that when we then go through who are these students, where are they staying, that money has been paid to the institution that is saying we owe. So general statements are good because they bring us to attend to the issues. But what is important, let's bring the issues to the fore. We met in December with Kagisho. We discussed these issues. There were meetings in December here in Gauteng to resolve this. And to the extent that any of those have now yielded a point where there's no dispute at all, I'm making an undertaking that not 14 days, not earlier than 14 days, that will be paid. But we cannot pay a claim that is not legitimate.
Okay.
Now, the broad point that I must make, which is important for all of us to understand, is that the administration was put up for NSFAS because vested interest has put NSFAS where it is. The decisions that were taken by the department in the past to introduce a pilot as a way of resolving problems were an intervention to deal with issues of vested interest. That vested interest doesn't disappear just because we've got a different intervention. So we should be careful in dealing with these issues, not to allow us going back to the same problems that we had. Yes, the problem is not working. The task team has dealt with this issue, and Kagisho knows our attitude in relation to how the pilot has progressed and worked. So there's no misalignment in relation to that. There's a common understanding on all task members. So we should not come to this platform. We should not come to this platform as if This is an issue that is in dispute that we need to resolve that issue.
Yeah, but
It's
it
not
is in dispute. It is in dispute because he's saying that 44 million rand is owed to is owed to members. You are saying that, but you are saying that there are some people whose claims are illegitimate. And I accept that. But earlier on, you did also say that there are outstanding monies that still need to be paid.
And I agree, and I'm saying they must be paid
within that 14 days.
That issue is not in dispute that they must be paid legitimate claims. But on that one, we have to sit down and look at it claim by claim.
Okay.
That's one point I'm making. The second point I'm making is SHA is speaking as if they are not part of the task team and they engage in these discussions that are seeking to find answers.
Okay.
And to the extent that that posture is maintained, it's not helpful because the discussions that take place there underscore that the problem and the intervention that was made has created problems and it must be changed. Hence, the intention to pay landlords directly. So to come to the platform now and say and talk as if those decisions have not been taken is really not helpful.
Okay, Kagisho, your quick
That's
response.
the point I'm making.
My quick response is that we'll still come here, even if it's one student. Because if you pay for 10 students, it's not an excuse not to pay for one student. All students must be treated equally, and students must make sure that they are comfortable and they are paid for. And one last thing, Aldrin, is that these students come into our residences without their funding also being confirmed. Some of these students get funded through mid-year. That is one other problem that frustrates students. But if the administrator is committed to resolve this within the next 14 days, we will most definitely welcome those students in our residences, and we will work with him to find a lasting solution for the sector.
Okay, then thank you so much for your time. Freeman Nomvala.
I do need to make this point, though.
Okay.
And the point is this, that in the last point that Kagisho is making, the intervention that we are putting in place, the administration was put in place because the funding decisions were made late. That's history. That's what used to happen. So to judge what is going to happen this year on the basis of what happened last year again is not taking into account all of the interventions we've been doing throughout the year. And I think, again, it just makes me wonder whether the vested interest issue is not driving some of the pronunciations rather than a quest and a genuine quest to find answers. Thank you.
Yes, we do.
You have vested interest?
Yes, we do have vested interest. And our vested interest is to provide beds to the shortage of 300,000 gap that is in South Africa. And as a private sector, we provide 80,000, and we must be paid for those 80,000 if NSFAS students are lodging at our residences.
All right, let's see whether this, Freeman Nomvala is arguing that there is no dispute. For me, it sounds like there's a dispute, but let's see if you'll be able to resolve this.